Hall of Fame broadcaster Marty Brenneman here, and he's the best storyteller in the game, and it's time to sit back, relax, and have some laughs. Welcome to the Mayor's Office, and here's your host, Sean Casey.
Boom, Chinch. What's up, brother?
What's up?
Back at it, man. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm ready to talk some hitting. Maybe, I don't know, top 5 hitters of your generation that you played against?
One of the best I've ever played against, brother. 14, this is the reason why. 14 seasons in the big leagues, career 300 hitter. Bam, he's in the club. I always say, D-Row, you're not. Anyway, over almost 2,400 hits. Tell you the truth, when I was playing, I remember we would all talk as players and would say, this guy right here, that guy right there, Michael Young, he's going to be the next 3,000 hits. But he got close. He got really close. 2,375. 7-time All-Star, 2005 batting champion, won the Gold Glove in 2008 is short, but he played everywhere. This is when you know you're good, Chinch. When the Texas Rangers retire your number, that's when you know you were actually a good player. 2019 Rangers Hall of Fame, 2016. Let's bring him in because we got tons of other stuff to talk about. My man, Mike Young. Michael Young, what's up, brother? How you doing, my man?
What's up, man? It's good to see your face. Thanks for having me on, bro.
You kidding me, bro? It's so good to see your face, man. It's so funny, too, because, we were talking about trying to get you on a few weeks ago. You're like, Case, I'm going to be in the Bahamas. And next thing you know, then you're like, I'm in Montana on a nice trip, too. Like, sounds like life's going pretty good for you right now, brother.
Casey, honestly, dude, I can't complain at all. But I mean, you've been in Texas in the summertime. I am out of here in the summer. It's unbelievable, dude. It's like the sun just hangs out on my shoulder, and I just tap out. I'm like, I'm out of here. I got to bounce. So we go beach, and then we go to Montana, see if we can ride a grizzly or two, and then we come back, we check in, I get the mail, and I bounce out of town again.
Did you see it?
I try and come back the day before school starts. That's when I come back.
That's so great. You're right, bro. I remember when we go down to play the Rangers, I'd be like, can we wear shorts for BP? It's so freaking hot. Like, how did you do it? Seriously, how did you do it every day? Did you take BP every day, or would you be a cage guy sometimes?
When I was young, we did it every day. But in this case, when you're young, you're like, you don't care. You walk out of bed, you're ready to play. It's not a big deal. At some point, you do kind of get used to it a little bit. But later on in my career, we definitely had days where we hit inside, hitting shorts, and it gets rough, man. But I mean, at some point, you got to try to use that as a home field advantage too.
No, it was a home field advantage because I remember it was just like literally like you were in an oven. I'm like, does someone turn the heat on? Is Satan around here? Because it feels like the heat's turned up to hell.
It is. They throw another log on the fire out there. It was brutal.
Oh my God, so true. So, dude, what do you got going on? Like, you got how many kids you got? Like, are you coaching? What are you doing?
I got three boys, 17, 12, and 10. 12 and 9, actually. It'll be 10 here in a couple of weeks. But it's great. I hang out with those 3 guys. My wife is doing great. I mean, the post-baseball times for us have been incredible. We try and travel as much as possible. Coach my 9-year-old's team. My 12-year-old kind of is just, dude, he's rolling with baseball. So I kind of let him do his little travel ball team. I kind of stay back and do our thing one-on-one when he gets home. My 17-year-old's a swimmer, so all he does is eat and drive and bounce. That's all he does. So he's gone. He's doing his thing.
Is he jacked? Is he like that long length swimmer? Like,
yes. Yes, dude, it happens quick too. When you get a boy and he's your oldest, you wrestle around, you do all your thing. Next thing you know, he tackles me and I'm on the bottom. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, man?
I can't move.
I don't know if I can say that here, but I'm like,
yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay, good. A while back, he was telling me to get off from that. Now I'm like literally like turning blue because he's choking me out. Happened quick, man.
That's so great, dude. What about like the swimmer? Because I love their like the swimmer mentality. Like those guys are animals. Like when I got, bro, here's a real quick swimming story, Mikey. When I got done playing, I was like, I retired after 2008, 2009. I was just sick of lifting weights. I'm like, I'm gonna start swimming, right? So I'm like, oh, here we go. So I'd swim like a lap or two, and like. It was, it's absolute, dude, dying. I'm like, how do swimmers just keep going back and forth? The lifeguard, a woman that I've known for years, she's like, oh, Sean, I didn't realize that was you. She goes, you look so non-athletic in the pool. I was like,
bad. I was only a 15-year big leaguer lady.
Yeah. I was like, listen, I hit balls in the gaps, but I freaking must be dense or something because, it's tough. So, I mean, as far as your son goes, like as far as the work ethic of a swimmer, has that impressed you about what it takes to be a swimmer?
100%, man. It's a different game than the one you and I grew up playing, right? And we wake there, practice at 6, so he wakes up. And dude, I was the happiest person in the world when he got his driver's license. I didn't have to take him to that damn 6 o'clock practice anymore.
That's right.
Now he's rolling, he's gone. But I had the same kind of thing happen. We were just in the backyard, in my backyard pool, and I'm like, hey man, let's just do a little swim workout. Let's do 50 laps. He's like, really? Like, with me and you? And I was like, yeah. You can't keep up with your own man. Blah 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 blah.
right.
Dude, next thing you know, he is literally like, I'm like, all right, what number are you on? He's like 30. I was on like 6. Sucking air. And it's like, dude, like I'm not a good swimmer. Like, dude, no drown, big win for me. So yeah, sure enough, by the time I finished, he's already dried off back in his room hanging out. It's just it's different.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. That is so
really
great.
cool. It's really cool to see.
What about your younger boys that are playing baseball? Like, obviously, I think I've been through this, so I'm saying they maybe don't understand like how good of a player you were in the big leagues. You're really probably just dad, but they also probably look at you and say, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. How do you handle that? How do you handle that as a father? Like, how do you coach your kids?
Dude, it is weird, Case, because like I want to tell them the things that I know without making them feel pressure or throwing too much on them. You know what I mean? So, my 12-year-old, my 17-year-old never really took an interest to it. He likes to watch it, loves to watch all sports, but swimming's his thing. My 12-year-old is about it, right? So even with him now, like I tell his coaches, I'm like, listen, man, I want you to coach him. Don't look at me in the stands. I want you to coach him. Don't think, I can't say this because Mike might say that. Coach him, because I'll never sell you out. I'll never tell my kid, he doesn't know what he's talking about, because then you'll lose him. That's just not fair.
Right.
So I won't do that to him. But then again, I think that the things that I enjoy now that he's getting to be 12, and in the game there's more hooks, there's some sliders, and now I'm like, when we talk, I'm like, you're going to get your advantages by just being smart. In baseball, man, to be a good hitter, you've got to be smart. You don't got to be great at math or chemistry or anything, but you do have to be smart, man. You got to have some stuff working up here to process information and apply it. And, my favorite stuff is after the game, we'll talk and I'm like, hey, you got a, breaking ball here. He's like, yeah, he wasn't landing. He was never doubling up on his curveball. So I knew to look for this. I'm like, you're off to the races, bro. That's what hitting is, right? Like if you can start doing that at 12, by the time you hit high school and beyond, whatever, that'll be up to him. You're going to be a step ahead of the game. So that's the stuff that I really like, is the game within the game kind of stuff. The fundamentals, the ground balls and the hitting, that's all fun. But I love chopping it up kind of to the really fun stuff of hitting.
What advice? Oh, dude, here we go. Because I was waiting for this just to happen so I could start going, because I love it too. What do you talk about? Like, how do you get them to understand the game of failure? Like, how did you deal with failure, and how do you relate that to your kids with this sport?
Yeah. By the way, real quick, are you guys good with this light from Jesus I got coming down right here in my thing? You guys see that, or is that just me?
No, I see it, but do you see it?
No, it's good. It's the heavens. We finally got you guys together.
You guys are good with it. I'm good with it. I don't care. Yeah.
No, we're good with it, bro. It looks great.
What the fuck is that? All right. What did we see that for? It's going to show how many times I'm in this damn office. All right, sorry. What was the question again, Casey?
Well, so I asked you about the game is such a game of failure, and you talked about process and about how you think about at bats, how you think about a guy's pitching to you. How did you deal with failure in this game, and how do you relate that to your kids on how to deal with it?
Man, that's it, isn't it, Case? Like, we all know what it's like to go up there and scuffle. And even now, like in my current job, right, with the Rangers, I'm special assistant to the Rangers, so I'll talk to minor league kids, and it's amazing that is like the one message that's universal. Like, I'm like, all right, any questions? What'd you do when you went bad? What'd you think about when you were slumping? How'd you pull yourself out of it, right? When you lost confidence, what'd you think about? And it's a universal message, So for me, and we talk about it all the time, like focusing on the process. And I tell my sons all the time, like, if you go up there and honestly keep this thing as fundamental as possible, swing strikes and smoke them as hard as you can, and get on base and run hard, all the rest of this is going to take care of itself, right? I don't care if you go 2 for 2 or 3 for 3. Like, no one's counting your stats when you're in 12U here, man. No one's going to care. Right. But you can learn kind of like how to play. So yeah, for me personally though, like I got this one cool lesson. Remember Carlos Pena? Carlos Pena, I played with him in AAA.
Oh, just had him on. The best. Yes.
Best dude. He gave me the coolest lesson ever. We were in AAA together, Oklahoma City. And all of a sudden I saw he's bringing this notebook and 2 Sharpies into the dugout, a red one and a black one. And I'm like, I'm watching him for a little bit, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing with this notebook? Right? Like, are you taking notes out here? Is it like, are you writing stuff down for pictures? I'm like, because I wanted to know. He's like, nah, man, I record my at-bats. I give myself a black or a red. And it's just based on process, right? So if you go up there, Case, and like, you're battling 0-2, you get to 1-2, and you line out to the center fielder. He's like, that's a red. That's a good AB. If I'm 3-1 and I got bases loaded and I hit a long dart over the first baseman's head, trust me, I'm going to take my single, my two RBI, right. But that ain't going to fly in the long run, right? So you go black. So he judges at bats on reds and blacks. And I was like, damn, that's sweet. So I started doing that. So it's basically, it really helps you take result out of it, right? So if I went bad, I would literally, I'm talking towards the end of my career too. I took this with me forever, and I have Carlos to thank for it. I would just drive to the park saying, you know what, man, today I'm gonna pile up some reds. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get some reds. And it just took me saying, all right, I got to go 3 for 4 to pull myself out of this. That's shit, man. If you're going bad, 3 for 4 is not easy to do.
Right.
So, that seems like a long way away.
Yeah, you just want a 1 for 5.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. If I tell myself, hey, I can get some reds today, I can do that. I can control that part of it. So that was one way to answer your question, how I try to keep myself 1 foot in front of the other. If you deal with failure, if I get a black check mark, I can get a red the next one.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it was nice. It was really good lesson from Carlos.
I like that a lot. One of the words that I talked about with Carlos too, because his story is so unique about, him, the way they moved from Dominican to the United States. And, it was a very gritty time for him. And I love that word grit. When you hear that word grit, what do you think of?
Oh man, I love it too, Case. Like it means like, one, you got a lot of perseverance, right? You have some mental toughness. You know how to, not let you see adversity kind of as an opportunity. This is my chance to show who I am. I remember, whenever you're 0 for 10, that's when your manager usually wants to give you a day off. And I remember like, I'd argue that one. I'm like, give it to me when I'm on fire. Of course, I'm going to argue then too. But this is when I want to show who I am. Like right now, this is when I could show a teammate, man, I'm not bailing right now. This is when I want to be out there when Justin Verlander's on the mound. This is when I really want to. It's harder for sure, but this is when I want to like embrace that part of the game when it gets super, super difficult and you really got to dig in a little bit to pull yourself out. Because when you do, you prove something to yourself. You know what I mean? You become a little mental. You get some edges now mentally, and like and as a hitter, as a baseball player up there, you got to find an edge any way you can. If you can develop mental toughness along the way and more mental toughness and prove some things to yourself, you're going to be in a really good spot.
Oh, I like that a lot. It's so true. Like when you're going bad, it's how you turn that around. How quickly can you turn that around is what gives you that confidence back. So like, when you're 0 for 10, I'm like, no, you got to keep throwing me out there. Like this is when I don't want to come out because I'm 1 pitch away from figuring this thing out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's grit to me. Like it's the ability to kind of like thrive in that kind of environment. And even if you don't thrive, at least welcome it, right? Say, I'll take it on. And that to me is what, not just good players, but people who just have happy, productive lives. That they seem to be really good at that kind of stuff.
I love that, brother. I love that.
The 2-1 pitch is swung on and a high fly ball into deep left center field. Back goes Sheffield at the wall, leaps in the air, and that's gone. And so Michael Young, the kid from Los Angeles, comes home to hit a home run at Dodger Stadium, and that's got to be a lovely moment in his life. And Young hits the plate. That's his first home run, and there's a small group of fans directly below us and over to the right, and are they ecstatic? So Michael Young hits a home run. What a thrill for his family. That's his first major league home run. Would you believe a kid from this area comes to Dodger Stadium and hits it, and they are just beside themselves.
What about for you growing up out there in California? You went to UC Santa Barbara too?
Sure, yep.
That must have been nice. That must have been a real nice place to go to school.
That's too shabby. That's too shabby.
What about growing up, Mikey? Like, who were some influences in your life? Like, why did you love baseball? Why did you work hard? Why did you want to do what you did?
I love baseball. I got lucky. I don't think big leaguers get lucky. You work hard to get there. Where I did get lucky is that I didn't really choose baseball. I've loved it since the second. I can't remember not loving it. So I got lucky there. I got lucky that I just fell in love with a really cool sport. So when you love something, you're going to want to try hard at it. You're going to want to try and be good at it. And then luckily for me, I got two unbelievable parents that were there for me from day one, driving me to games, driving me to, and when I was a kid, it was mostly rec ball until I got to about high school. And then you started to travel a little bit more.
Yeah, me too.
But they were there all the time. They were there. They were involved. And so I got really, really lucky there. And then when I got into, high school and college, playing against some really great competition when I was, down in Southern California, so my role models were absolutely my parents, and they showed me from the beginning what being a tight family meant, and I've tried to give that to my family too. Anything
your dad or your mom said to you that like is something you say to your kids? Like there's some things that my dad would say to me that I say to my kids, and I'm like, man, I sound like my dad. Are there some messages you pass on that were beat into you as a kid?
So my dad was a construction worker. My mom was a elementary school secretary. And, I remember my dad, pulling out of by the time I woke up for school, my dad was already gone. He was already, trying to beat LA traffic and get to work. So that's something I always remember, but he'd always kind of he'd show up with his work boots at my practices and stuff. And he was always there. And so, hard work was something I saw from the beginning. And even if he never told me to work hard, but I saw it every day.
Yeah,
right. So I took that with me. If you're going to do something, I don't care what you're doing, that this is the only really way to approach it. And, I had that with me with baseball since one, I love to play, and two, kind of hard work was kind of ingrained in me from my folks. So kind of a bit of the perfect storm, I guess.
That's awesome, man. You're a blessed man. I look back at your story. You were drafted by the Orioles out of high school?
Yeah.
What round? So why didn't you sign? Was it just too late?
25th. 25th. It was a little tardy, but dude. But I was also, out of high school, I was a center fielder, and I was about 5'10", every bit of 150. So,
oh really? Dude, you would have got eaten up in the minors.
Crushed, dude, crushed. I was nowhere near being ready, not even close. So, college was absolutely the move for me, 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you get drafted by the Blue Jays, and you. I look back at your numbers, your minors, you raked, and then you get traded for Esteban Loaiza.
Yeah.
Right. Which probably the Blue Jays have to look back and go, "Oops, that was a bad one." that was a bad trade, but it opened up the door for you in Texas. Can you tell us about that? First off, how did you feel about getting traded? And second off, take us back to the call when you got called up to the big leagues.
Yeah, getting traded as a young player is odd. You got traded as a young player too.
I got traded, same thing. I was in the minors, got traded from the Indians, the Reds.
From Cleveland, right?
I remember thinking, I'm just going to play for the Indians. They're like, hey, you're gone. I'm like, what?
Right, exactly. So by the time you sign, I was a college sign, just like you were, and all of a sudden, like all I could think about was playing in the big leagues for the Blue Jays. I was like, that was it, man. That's where I was dialed in, and all of a sudden, they pulls me aside before a game in Double-A and says, you just got traded to Texas, and I was like, didn't really know how to process that, right? I just got put on the roster of the Blue Jays. I'm like, well, am I still on the roster over there? And he's like, that's something for them to work out. Literally, they were like, high five, shake hands, and go. And I'm super thankful to the Blue Jays, man. Like when I got there, I'd only been playing shortstop for 2 years in college. I went my freshman year as a center field, and they moved me to short. Wow. And they were just nonstop work. I have a ton of appreciation and gratitude towards the Blue Jays for everything they poured into me.
Who were the guys in the minor leagues though that did help you? There has to be a couple guys. You're like, boom, that guy was huge.
Garth Orge, Jim Hoff, Hector Torres, Marty Peavy, Rocket Wheeler, George Bell. Remember George? Dude, George Bell.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm leaving out a lot.
Wow.
Just great folks, man. And I always think of them. I always kind of like stick in my head for like the impact they had in my career. But when I got to Texas here, I knew that I'm like, well, all right, cool. This is the team that wants me. I went to AA, went to the fall league after that, and I was in the big leagues next year. So, I mean, it couldn't have worked out better.
So you had moved to shortstop with the Jays, and then you get traded to the Rangers, who had a shortstop that Arod was there, wasn't he at the time?
Exactly.
So were you like, what the fuck? Like,
dude. So timeline wise, it was a trip. I signed, and the Blue Jays when I signed had Cesar Turris, who was just picking fool, man. I remember like I signed. I went to St. Catharines in New York Penley. We're taking ground balls, and Izzy takes his first ground ball, and I was like, fuck, like this is what they look like. Like, and I remember thinking like, I got to kick this into gear right now because this is the bar. I had no idea he was pretty special at the time, right? I thought that was just like, this is what they all look like. So fortunately, this worked out really well for me later in my career. The farm director, Jim Hoff, says, you and Izzy are going to switch off every series. You'll play short and you just switch off every series, switch off. I had no idea how much that would help me out down the road. Wow. So we did that for the first 3 years of the minor leagues. And it was really, really helpful, obviously, for when I got later on down the road. But when I got traded to Texas, to answer your question, playing short only, I go to the fall league and playing short only. And then they signed Alex in the offseason. And my agent calls me up and he says, you're probably going to get traded again. And I was like, no, dude, fuck that. I was like, can you do me a favor? Like, call them and say, I want to play second again. Because I had played second a lot in the minor leagues. And actually, I knew second base was my best position, like without a doubt. And I said, I doubt that my opinion matters much here, but I just want them to know I'm down to go back to second and compete for this job. I want them to know it. It won't matter. They're going to make their call, but I just want them to know it rather than just sit back and be silent about it. So I got to spring training. They had me at second only. I started out in AAA, Alex's first year in Texas, and we had Randy Velarde, who was our second baseman, unbelievably great dude. He yanked a hammy mid-May, and they pulled me up. And that was it. And Randy, even when he came back healthy, I remember I kind of took this lesson with me too. I'm a veteran player. Even when he came back healthy and they kept me playing, Randy was there every day, supporting me, talking to me, and until he got traded at the deadline too. But I always took that lesson with me too.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you were prepped for second base. That's really cool. That's a cool story that you were already getting reps almost by accident in the minor leagues. Because of you and Izzy were there together. Now you playing second base. Obviously, Arod was at short, and that was the time when he was at another level. Obviously, there were some really great players in the game, but Arod, at that time was so good. Like anything you learned from him, approach wise, how he went about his business. What were some of the things that you learned about what Arod playing the game?
Oh yeah. One thing I will say about Alex, like the biggest things I took were I played with him for 3 years. I think he missed one game, right? So it's like be durable, kind of same thing you and I were talking about. Like don't use a bad stretch as an excuse to bail out of the game. Be someone your teammates can count on. When they look at the lineup, they're going to see he was going to be in there, and that meant something to me. Real smart player too, man. He's trying to find edges everywhere. When picking signs is part of the game, in my opinion, right? As long as you do it legit, and do it on the field.
No cameras.
No cameras, no banging trash cans, anything like that. But just do it legit. I remember like Alex would be like, if I'd be on second, and he's like, did you get him? I'm like, no, I didn't get him. He's like, no, you got to get him. Like there wasn't like, get him. I'm like, well, I can't see. It's kind of dark in there. Get some glasses. Get him. Like whatever it takes. Get him.
Figure it out.
Sometimes like to pretend the ballpark, you see shadows like and you can't even see the fingers, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, I can't pick it up. So he's like, figure it out. And to me, like I took that the rest of my career. Every time I was on second, I was trying to get him. Every single time I was trying to get him. So he was always looking for edges to try and, give the team an edge to see if he can win a ball game, score a few more runs. And that was something I definitely took with me too.
Yeah. Wow, man. And playing up there, playing in Texas, and you talked about, the durability, like as a visiting player, like we were talked about earlier, the heat in Texas was a different animal. Like it really was. And like just the fact that how were you, did you do anything special to recover every day? Was it a cold tub or something like that? And, you know, talk about grit and grind, you know, just were there days in that Texas heat you're like, man, like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to play today.
Dude, I think you do get used to it a little bit. You do get used to it. I think your mind just kind of adjusts to what it's going to feel like. And then honestly, Case, like you'll appreciate this one. Like it's hot as hell, but the damn ball carries a lot in that stuff. So you just suck it up.
Exactly. I just got to get one in the air. It's going to fly out of here.
Just backspin it a tick, man, and I'm in business. So, you know, you get the good with the bad, and that was a trade I would gladly make. So, I mean, you do some things to take care of your body, a lot of cold tanks afterwards. I mean, there was guys stuck to IVs before games too, just to be able to get through a ball game. And you know, I was doing Pedialytes before and during the game and all that stuff. But after a while, it just kind of becomes part of the routine, and it's really not that big of a deal. Yeah,
Mikey, for you as a player, you know, it was like I said, bro, you're one of the best hitters I've ever played against. And I went back to your numbers. I mean, you're so close to the Hall of Fame. Like you're to even say that you're in that argument for Cooperstown. You know, a lot of guys that played with you would think, you know, hey man, that's a Hall of Fame player. I mean, we would even say that kind of stuff. So, you know, when you look back at you know, at your career as far as you as a hitter, what was your approach as a hitter? Like when you were in the box, man, what were you thinking when that guy was on the mound?
Yeah. First of all, thanks, man. That was all nice of you to say.
No, bro. You know, it's funny. I was telling Chinch, the one thing I love about this podcast or show that we do or whatever, you know, it gives me a chance to really go back and look at my friends and find out how good they were. Because, you know, I mean, like seriously, you got to do the research, and I go back and I'm like, whoa, like, and then that's why I started to look at the Cooperstown thing, because I'm like, man, I look at Mikey Young's numbers and I go, there has to be some Cooperstown comparisons here. Then I start looking at the Cooperstown comparisons, and you can make a case for you being at Cooperstown. So I just want to throw that out there like that. Hey, listen, whatever happens, happens. But man, you to me had a Cooperstown career.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you. You know, one, I had a ton of like just fun, you know, shit, man. It's fun up there. It's fun to play up there. And, you know, for me, I know you like talked about like approach wise when I was in there, like early on, I was very, very simple and fundamental, like really try and bear down fastballs and adjust otherwise, you know, but then you start getting some at bats under your belt and you start racking up, say 40, 50 at bats against starting pitchers. And then like the fun chess match comes in, right? Like, then it's like, I know he's going to land a breaking ball first pitch. I'm just not going to let him do it. I'm going to try and get on this thing quick. So that's the fun part to me, is when you start becoming a bit of a veteran hitter and you're facing veteran pitchers and you're trying to figure out, you're trying to stay one step ahead of the guy that you've seen for so long, right? That to me was like really, really fun stuff. But I tried to keep it super fundamental and trying to like honestly take my approach game to game. You know, if I barreled up a heater away my first at bat, I know that I'm probably not going to get that again. So, you know, I'd be ready to rock on something in. But, you know, then just kind of start subtracting stuff in my mind as the game went on. But you know, if it came down to not being very sure, I tried to just look for heater down the middle and go from there.
Right. Run hunt the heater and anything up that's slow, go off it. What about your approach though, Mikey? As far as your swing, like you kind of had you had a little unique kind of Michael Young. Yeah. It was, I don't know if it was a stutter step. It was more like a tap and then go, or it was like a set. Get your foot down real early, and then go. You know, where did you get that, and why did you do it?
So I before two strikes, I was always a toe tapper, and I played with Rafael Palmeiro, who was a toe tapper. I played with Pudge, who was a toe tapper. So I kind of saw that, and I'm like, and after maybe my second year in the big leagues, I'm like, I need like a better rhythm timing mechanism. So I kind of went off that, and I used that the rest of my career. So before two strikes, I always did that, and I felt super locked in with it. But then I just didn't like what I was doing with two strikes at all, and I felt like I needed to make a bit of an adjustment. I hated the concept of striking out. I did strike out, but I hated striking out, especially if there's runners out there to knock in. That just drove me nuts. So a lot of times with two strikes, I mean, I kind of like had this idea that, you know, odds are, because I'm trying to protect against breaking ball away or heater in, and there's lots of cover, I just really want to make sure my head didn't move. And I believe the swing is from the ground up. So if I was super calm with my lower body, my head's going to stay still. Looking back, I might have done it a little differently, but it worked at the time. So I would kind of just get my front foot down super, super early. And I got used to it after a while. A lot of hitters come to me like, how are you feel momentum like that? And I'm like, I'm just kind of used to it now. I just, it just feels fine. But my head would stop and I was able to kind of just see the ball as deep as I could with 2 strikes to kind of just make contact, especially with guys on base and guys out there to knock in.
Were you ever because dude, you were so good. You were such a line-to-line guy. Like, I always admired that about you. Like, yeah, you want to try and pitch Michael Young away? He's going to hammer one down the right field in the right center gap, like ball in. So were you looking to go to right field and react in, or were you up there looking to pull and just, hell, I just hit one to right?
Right. I think it was like count to count, right? Count to count base, like pitch to pitch. I was trying to set like how I was going to let it go a little bit. One thing that I did is I arm barred. You play with Griff, and Griff was an arm
my
bar.
God, dude. Yeah,
not putting myself in that category, trust me. But like, I always admired. I don't know how he would arm bar and buggy whip balls to the pull side to right. It was just like, that's what makes him King Griffey Jr., right? But like for me, I had a tough time early in my career pulling the ball in the air. My top hand would get super involved. So my target spots were kind of like left center to like the right field line. That's just kind of where my swing kind of went, So I got a little better about controlling it as my career went on. So in certain counts, I can really let it eat and get the ball in the air to the full side. But for the most part, like my path kind of just took me that way. And once I kind of realized that, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to kind of really feed into this and really dive into it. Because there's worse things than be able to kind of, really stay line gap to gap and just kind of build off of that. Yeah. So that was kind of my approach. And, if I got something, like you said, soft up, then I was definitely trying to get it up in the air to left field.
And were you thinking? I love this question too because people always ask, well, what am I doing? Am I rotating my lower half? Because listen, you and I could take a swing. We could break it down 80,000 different ways. I could tell you how your toes are supposed to move, all that stuff. But as a hitter, like for me, I was more of a hands guy. I was like, okay, I got to really get my hands working correctly, and my body will follow. Were you a hands guy? Were you more of a body guy? What was like if you had to teach your kids their swing right now? Bam, where are you going? What's the most important thing?
I always thought hands for sure.
Yeah.
If my hands were working, I could hit. If they were working the way I wanted them to work, I felt like I can hit. I feel like when you start getting to your mid-20s and you start just getting, you do some work in a weight room and you start feeling that strong base, right, in your leg, and it's really working, you can kind of use that ground force for some strength. It doesn't do any good if your hands aren't working, right, or if you're in and out of the zone, or if your top hand's super happy, or whatever the case may be. But if my hands were kind of like going, right, and they felt quick and loose and on time and rhythmic, then I felt like I was going to hit. So that was always my focus, knowing full well that your lower body is incredibly important. But I felt like my hands were my trigger. If my hands were working properly, I was going to be able to hit.
Well, I like that. Yeah. Well, dude, they work properly. It's so funny. People will ask me, hey, where are some of the hardest hit balls? You might remember this ball. What are some of the hardest balls hit to you? And I'm thinking, I can't believe Michael Young probably hit me the hardest ball at first base ever. I don't even remember, in Detroit. Verlander was pitching. You hit a freaking absolute, and I think as a first baseman, you're not looking for that the right-handed hitter to hit you a bullet. Like, it might be something that's curving, but dude, I don't know if you caught this ball. It was hit so hard, I didn't even see it, and it almost hit me in the teeth. Like it took a hop, bro, and I was boom. I went backwards. It hit me, and I started to fall backwards. And I'm like. I looked so non-athletic, which, wasn't hard at times, but anyway, but I literally, it almost hit me in the teeth, Mikey, and I fell backwards, and I remember thinking, holy shit, I caught that ball. Like, how did I catch that ball? It's hit so hard. And then I look up, and Verlander's not covering. I'm like, what the hell? Verlander's not covering. I was like, I just made an unbelievable play off a bullet. But I just remember, like, you hitting me one of the hardest balls ever. So thank God, I would have no teeth now. We wouldn't be doing this call if I didn't catch that freaking ball.
Dude, I know the feeling. Like you don't expect the Oppo guys to do that. That was when I was at third. That was freaking Robinson Cano. Same thing. Like I wasn't expecting something hot to come over there.
Right.
Oh, like it happened a few times with that guy.
Yeah, and Cano would just
hot stuff coming that way.
That's so true. Where did you like playing more off? Did you like the hot corner? Did you like second and short? Did you like second or short better? Because you obviously play a lot of them. What was your favorite?
Second was my best spot for sure. I felt great there. I wish I could have spent my whole career there, to be honest. Like, it was my most instinctive, my best position. But short was the most fun. You know, it's shortstop, man. You see everything. You're in charge of everything. You're right smack dab in the middle of everything. You see signs, you see pitchers, you know, what they're shaking to, you know, you just see the whole thing. And to me, that's like being right in the middle of the action. And, you know, any time a ball's in the gap, boom, there you go. You know, I remember being at third, and I got moved to third, and there was a ball in the left center field gap. And I took off. I had to go be the cutoff man. Where are you going? So, like, that was my first lesson. Like, I'm sitting next to I'm like, just at third, I'm like, damn, I just get to chill here. It's like you can make plays and you chill at third. So short was like you don't do that. You're involved in all the action. So shortstop was the most fun. But second was my best spot.
Did you find that playing middle infield helped you concentrate more just overall on a game? Like, I only played in college, but I was moved from the infield to the outfield, and I used to have to find the concentration more. Like, you don't feel as in the game. Like, could you take what you know, playing in the middle of the infield, you're on every pitch, then you go back to play. Was that tiring, or do you think it helped with your offense?
I think it helps. It kind of takes your mind off. If you're scuffling offensively, you can forget about it. It's super easy because, you know, you got to dial in on defense, right? It's too important in those positions. So, and it's just easy to kind of like just get back into the rhythm of the game and be super present. So yeah, I felt that like playing in the middle was actually really, really helpful in that sense.
I look at your career 300 average, bro, and I just know when I went to Boston my last year, I was off the bench and I was hitting 301. I'm like, do I even want to play this year? Because if I freaking throw a 240 out there and I'm a 299 career hitter, I'm going to be pissed. That's what I was. And so, did you think the same thing? Because you landed dab on 300. You had to have, when you were with the Phillies and the Dodgers at the end, you had to thought, oh, if I shit the bed here and become a 299 career after all those hits, I'll be pissed.
I didn't think, first of all, yes, I would have been pissed. 100% pissed. I didn't think about it until at the end. I knew when the season ended, I knew I was considering shutting it down. And the Dodgers wanted to bring me back. And I didn't really think about it until the end, right? Like I start looking at it and I start, start pros and cons. Am I going to keep going or am I going to shut it down?
Right.
And all of a sudden I look, I'm like, whoa. I was like, going into my age, 37 or 38 season? The odds of me hitting 3 bills again aren't good right now, man. Right. So I agree, dude. Like, if I come down, I'm hitting 298 after all that. That's no good at all. Yeah.
God.
No good.
2,300 some hits and he's 298. You're like, that's just a kick in the stones. Yeah.
It really is, dude. It really
that's a kick in the stones. Mikey, when you look back at guys that, you know, we like to sometimes talk about who owned you and who did you own? Who were the guys when you look back and go, man, I'm so glad he's on the mound, and then you look on the mound and go, oh man, it's time to grind tonight.
Yeah, you know, dude, it's super, super random. You know, like I faced John Lackey a ton. Great dude, competed his ass off.
Big time.
And the numbers might say that I did okay, but I never felt like that when I was facing them, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I've always felt
comfortable.
It was never comfortable, right? And maybe one reason why the numbers might say they were my favorites, I knew I had to really, really lock it in. And it was never a comfortable at bat.
355.
So, I would never use the word own there because I didn't feel that one bit. I just think that fortunately some things went my way.
355.
Wait, Chinch, what were the numbers?
355 with a 396 on base percentage, 6 doubles, 16 ribbies in 100 plate appearances.
There we go. Lackey would take it. When I have Lackey on the show, which I'm going to do, he's going to be like, Michael Young owned me.
No, dude. I first of all, like I love Lack, man. It was
the best.
Those are the at bats. Honestly, like when the career's over, those are the ones you miss. Right, because that's like he's doing everything he can to get me out. I mean, just a balls to the wall competitor, and I'm trying to fight it all off, man. I'm trying to kind of like be aggressive up there and do what I do, and those are the chess matches, that you just miss. It was fun stuff. Honestly, man, like there were some people I felt fine against. I think it was, I remember a dude named Brandon Backey came up with Tampa Bay, and then he went to Houston, and I started out like, I was like 5-5 against him with some doubles and doing fine. And then he's starting for Houston, and I think it's like a Saturday game, and he's like, or a Sunday game. He's like, man, you're like 5-5 against me. And this was like, and I was like, 5-5 is not that big a deal, dude. It's only 5 at bats, right? But then I think I went in this third inning. I think I was 2 for 2 with 2 homers. Now I'm 7 for 7 with like 2 doubles and 2 homers. And I remember I'm going to short, and I'm like, yeah, I think I do own this one right now. Like, I'm really around this one.
11 for 15. 11 for 15.
Oh my God.
That was like probably one guy that like really stood out, because it wouldn't have stood out if he hadn't mentioned it. He like said it. And I mean, as a hitter, dude, like, you're looking for every advantage you got. Yeah. And I know one thing, dude. There were plenty of pitchers that had my number, and not a shot in the hell I would have told them. Right.
I got an interesting one for you, because you got this guy a couple times and he got you a bunch. Wakefield. First of all, you faced Wakefield so much.
Nightmare. Okay, so here's the thing. I would absolutely tell Wake. I think I might have told him that, because I consider that to be like a real at bat, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but. There was no chess match. It's just, am I going to hit his knuckleball or not?
There's no process. Yeah.
No process. And dude, I tried everything. I think I went up there one time with like a 36-inch bat. I tried everything. And none of it worked. I think one time, like my hardest contact, as I started facing Wake later, he started throwing some heaters in like spots where it didn't really matter. Right. So say I'm leading off the game and Boston's got like a 6-run lead, and he's 2-0. He's going to throw me a heater. And I started knowing that. And I'm like, holy shit, 2-0. Here comes 75 down the middle. I'm going to be all over this thing. So that was like the only times I actually like did well against Wake. Me and Beltray would laugh about it all the time. Me and Beltray and my numbers against Wakefield were embarrassing. Like, they just killed us, man. I don't know how guys did it. I don't know how they did it. Hey, he was a absolute handful. That was the code I couldn't crack, man. Just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Oh my God. What about Beltray, man? Like you play with, you've named some guys like Arod, Pudge, Palmeiro, Beltray. I know you played with Tex for a long time too. I mean, you played with some really good players. Like, give me those two guys right there. Talk about a little bit about Beltray. What made him so great? His numbers are unbelievable, and also Tex. Tex was one of the best in the game when he was with Texas.
Really was, dude. Like, so I played with Tex first. Like, Tex came up, high profile dude from Georgia Tech, and like, all the pressure in the world on him. But like, it didn't take long to realize like how good he was. Like, first of all, like I don't know how switch hitters do it. They're just aliens. Like, it's hard enough to do it on one side. I don't know how they do it. It's a nightmare.
It's incredible.
And one thing about Tex I love being when he was with us, I was playing short. He was an unbelievable defender at first too. So in case when you're playing first, like there's a lot of confidence, man. I can just let it eat, and he's got it. He's going to make it happen over there. As long as I don't throw it in the weeds in the 8th row, he's going to
pick it. Yeah, he's going to pick it.
Yeah. And one thing I love about Tex, like crazy durable. Really, really a competitive dude. Took a lot of pride in his game. Always in great shape, strong as an ox. Yeah. And just a good dude. Like, he and I are great friends to this day. And I really enjoyed my time with Tex, man. I mean, we ended up having a great career. Spent most of it in New York and won a championship. And kind of one of those guys you talk about, Case. Like, I told him, I know he's on the Hall of Fame ballot this year, and I don't think he got enough to stay on. But I said, I'm like, dude, you're a Hall of Famer in my book, man. That's just unbelievable.
I agree.
Career.
And he always had, that he had that little waggle. You're like, he's about to crush something. You would just see him doing that. It was a little aggressive, and you're like, this guy's about to hit a bullet, and he usually did.
Yeah. Well, he usually did. It was thick.
Oh my God.
Thick. Just a great player, man. It's like one of those guys, Case, like you said, like their Hall of Famers are going to get their credit no matter what, because they deserve it. They're unbelievably great players. But there are other guys who aren't going to be Hall of Famers, and you hope that that people don't forget who they were. You know what I mean? Because they were that freaking good. The other day, I think someone was talking about, it was random. We were in the I was with the minor leaguers, and someone mentioned Grady Sizemore. And everybody's like, who? I'm like, you need to know who that dude was. Like, that was a no-joke freaking baller. And if he hadn't gotten hurt, look out. Yeah. Like, just an unbelievably great player that people might have forgotten about, but the guys who played against him didn't forget.
They know. That's what I mean. Like the guys, we had Lance Berkman on. Berkey, I said, I don't care what's going on in Cooperstown. They must be not looking at the numbers because you're a Hall of Famer. Because when I played against you, you're a Hall of Famer. And then you go back and look at Will Clark. Will Clark, look at some of his numbers. He dominated for all those years. Like, I don't know, Mattingly. Like, there's so many guys. That's why I say Younger, you and Teixeira. Look at those guys. Look at these guys' numbers. That's why I think when you look at Cooperstown, it's the hardest Hall of Fame to get into. If you guys are playing in the NFL, the NBA, you're Hall of Famers. But for whatever reason, baseball, they're, and I think times are going to be changing because guys aren't going to play 20 years anymore. 3,000 hits isn't going to be a thing. 300 wins, like the criteria, 500. It's already gone, dude. You know what I mean? So they're going to have to reevaluate and look back at guys and go, to this day's standard, you got to look back at some of these guys and go, maybe those guys are Hall of Famers.
Right. I agree, man. Some of the names you just mentioned are spot on. Will Clark never slowed down. Like, I think he went home because he had family stuff he was really trying to address at home. And he never slowed down. It's not like he hit that peak towards the end of his career where he's like, oh, Will's slowing down. And he was literally good the entire time. And he just decided for whatever reason, God bless him, man, whatever his reasons are, for personal reasons, he decided to go home.
Yeah, his last full year, he hit 319 with 21 and 70 at 36 with two teams.
36 years old. Like, he never slowed down. Like, that's like a Hall of Famer. Lance Berkman's numbers are stupid numbers. And there's just guys like that, and I hope that they don't get forgotten, man, because they were really tremendous players. And then you look at you mentioned Adrian, and you look at his numbers, like, okay, that's a knockdown Hall of Famer, right? It's
right. Like, that's your slam dunk. Yeah, right. Yeah. Crazy.
It's a weird case. Like, I played against Adrian a lot when he was in Seattle, and I knew he was good. The one thing I really respected about him was that he played all the time. I think one time he took a ground ball to the junk, and he still, because Adrian didn't wear a cup.
Oh, he didn't? Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude! At the hot corner?
At the hot corner.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So the thing blew up like a helium balloon, and he still played.
He did?
Yeah.
I'd have been like, put me on the IL. Put me in the IL right now.
Yeah. I'll see you next year. I'm out.
Oh my god!
So so he was crazy, tough dude. Crazy durable. And I knew he was a great player. I had no idea how great until I played. Like some guys, like, they take BP and you're like, wow. And then they take ground balls, you're wow. They throw their bullpens, wow. Then when the lights come on, you always want guys who perform in the game. That's when it matters, right?
Right, that's the bottom line.
Adrian's a freaking game performer. Like, when the game's on, look out. Like, I don't remember seeing many better game performers than him. Just an unbelievably great player, man. Like, his numbers are crazy. He's like all time in doubles and hits and runs and like these big time names. And then, like, you factor in how great he was at third, man. It's just a legendary career, man. Just unbelievable.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Now, you went to 7 All-Star games. That's right?
7, yeah.
7? That's pretty good. That means you're a good player. Anyway, 7 All-Star games, but you had, I went to 3 All-Star games, and I'm 0 for 2 with I grounded out to short and I punched out. So I'm like, God, my All-Star games kind of sucked. Yeah. And then I was on the DL for one of them, like, just coming off, like, I was like, I got no, like, All-Star game memories. Now you do. And it was, one of them was back in 2006 when you were the MVP of the All-Star game. I think you hit that 2-run triple in the 9th, right? That was awesome. Yeah. Take us back. Like, you got 7 All-Star games. Give us 2 stories from your All-Star games that you look back that you still tell to this day.
So yeah, 06 is probably the first one. That was my third All-Star game. The first one, you know how it goes, man. You're just like kid in a candy store, man. You're taking it all in. And
that was in Houston. That was in Houston. I was at that game too. What do you remember? Did Muhammad Ali come into your clubhouse?
Sure did. Yeah, I got the autograph still in my little room over there, man. Yeah,
dude, how cool is that?
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, tell me about your Ali experience.
Oh, dude, it was like he walks in the clubhouse and like, it was a trip though, right? Because I'm like my first All-Star game and I'm not trying to step on toes. And he walks in the All-Star game and all the familiars go back to, Manny and Jeter and Alex are like all talking to him. And I'm like trying to pick my spot to go in there. The next thing you know, there's this big ass circle around Muhammad Ali and I'm on the back. Like, where's he at, man? So like I had to like wait my turn, right? I'm like, they're all like, just trying to like find my little entrance in there to kind of like meet the guy. Finally did. Got like, just like there's certain guys that you have like that wow factor. Like, holy, like this is who I'm.
Yeah, that's Muhammad Ali.
When I was in baseball, first time playing against Griff, I was like, dude, that's King Griffey Jr. Like,
exactly.
I was doing his batting stance like when I was a kid, right? And
dude, I was lockering next to him, going, that's King Griffey Jr. That kid never got old, Yeah.
Right. When I went to the Dodgers, like I met Magic. I'm like, it's Magic. I grew up in LA. Like Magic Johnson, dude. Like, Muhammad Ali clearly, and for obvious reasons, is like probably like the top guy at that, right? So just a super cool experience. I'll never forget that one. That Houston game was a lot of fun. I had a blast.
Hey, what about you? Awesome. Were in an 08 game at Yankee Stadium that lasted like 950 hours, right?
I think I just left. Like,
did you?
We were there all night. Yeah,
that was a big thing.
That was a long one. That was like a special one though, because that was the last year of Old Yankee Stadium, and I love that place, man. That place was the best. And that place in Fenway, like I'm a baseball purist, man. That place in Fenway are like my two special spots to play in. But that thing, I think it went like 15 or some innings. I got 4 ABs in an All-Star game.
Did you really?
Man, I'm at 5. I don't even know. Like,
Did you start? Who'd you come in for, or did you start that game?
That was the thing about coming in playing shortstop in the American League at the time. Like, just let me know when Derek gets tired. And
yeah, that's right.
I remember we were playing in New York, and then Tito was the manager, and Tito's the man.
The best.
And he goes, "Hey, listen." He goes, "When you go in, he goes, I'll probably let Derek take the field, and you can just walk out there. That way, he gets the ovation from the fans." So he's like, "All right, you're on, go." So I jog out there, and Derek comes off. Crowd's going crazy. And I kind of like, say, "Hey, good job." And he goes, "Heads up, Pujols going to hit the shit out of this one your way right." Sure enough, like I dig in there, and Albert's like this is freaking seed. Yeah, I look at the dugout, and he's like, "I tried to warn you, dude." Like, yeah. That was a fun one, man. 08 in Yankee Stadium was fun, but that 06 game, winning an MVP in an All-Star game is like kid stuff, right? The stuff you think about when you're watching All-Star games as a kid. So that was pretty cool. Facing Trevor Hoffman, just one of the best closers of all time. It's a pretty cool game, man.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That was and you know what? When you watch the All-Star games, you're hoping you don't get a chance to see big hits like that or late in the game. Sometimes the All-Star games, one team is crushing the other. So that was just a cool game to watch. You know what I mean? It was a cool game to watch. What about I'd be crazy not to mention because D-Row talks about him all the time, like, oh, Rudy Jaramillo. First off, DeRosa, one time he went to Texas, I go, quit stealing Michael Young's secrets, okay? Because did you just go into Michael Young and just say, hey, bro, I'm just going to be like you. Let's sit down and watch tape together, and I'm going to turn into you? Because D-Rose started looking like you. He's like, well, it was really Rudy Jaramillo, too, and Mikey help me out. So tell me about D-Row cloning you, and then what did Rudy Jaramillo have to do with it?
First of all, Rudy is the greatest, man. Like, I think, like, hitting coaches, too, it's like, sometimes they give you like cool mechanical stuff that you can do, and sometimes they help you with your swing. But for the most part, dude, the hitting coaches is the guy that you lean on for like, I want to talk to this guy. I want to talk to him about how I feel. I want to talk to him about, I want to see him. I want to have like almost like some like unspoken communication with him, right? And Rudy and I had that because he was my hitting coach the day I got to the big leagues, and he was there probably I think like 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
And we had that, and we would and we'd always like when I knew we were close because I started seeing like I talked to him like, hey, what are we looking for today? It was always we. What are we doing?
What are we doing today?
yeah. What are we looking for from this guy? What's our plan? And when you come up with it, and if I was in the box, I'd foul one off, and and I'd look at him. He'd kind of just do one little thing, and I'd be like, yep, that's about it. And it's easy to kind of make in pitch adjustments. So Rudy was just an unbelievable dude, and just had a huge impact on my career. I know he had one on D's too. D-Row loved Rudy, man. So when D-Row got there, I think 2005. And I think he just blew out his knee, I think, with the Braves, and he was kind of like getting back to being healthy again. And he comes with us, and we're in the weight room of spring training. And I remember thinking, like, my first thoughts of D-Row are like, first of all, this dude's like a pretty jacked dude.
Jacked, yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, this dude's fucking funny. Like, every time he opens his mouth.
Dude, he's so funny.
He's got the Jersey accent. Every time he opens his mouth, I found that I was laughing. I mean, it didn't matter what he said. He's like, I'm going to go get a banana in the water, and I'm freaking doubled over. And everything he said was funny. So we ended up, like, in no time at all, probably like halfway through his first year there, we were already like best friends in the team. To this day, like in my time in the big leagues, D-Row is like one or top three of all time. Just an unbelievably great teammate.
Right. The best.
The best, man. And had a hell of a career, man. And everyone who played with him just raves about him. So, but yeah, I love D, man. When he signed with the Cubs, I totally got it, but I was super bummed that he was going to bounce. But
yeah,
I missed him.
Well, he feels the same way about you too, bro. When I'm on MLB Central, I'll be like, Mikey Young said, like, dude, like that guy was a killer. That guy was a killer. He's just like, okay. I go, we got to get Younger on the show at some point. You know what I mean? It's so great. What about the game today, bro? Like, obviously we played in the same generation. I have my thoughts on it, but like, you're not that far out. You're 2013. You only, did you see the shift? Is the pitching that much better? Like, what is the difference in the game today than maybe when you first came up and I was playing?
I think the pitching is definitely, the stuff's better. I think that's clear. Stuff is better. Guys throw harder. They stay out of patterns, I think, a little better. I remember like coming up when I was even a rookie, and I'm facing Roger Clemens, and he's throwing 95, 96, and he's like a freaking 6'4", 4,000 pounds on the mound. And but if I'm in a 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1 count, I'm getting a heater. I was getting a heater.
100%.
Those days are gone, man. Like you don't know what you're getting, and it's fuzzy coming in there too. So I do think the pitching is better. Because of that, I think the hitters got to figure out a way to punch back, right? And right now, hey man, I'm all for it. If you get into a certain spot and you had a favorable count and you're trying to, make an impact on the game, hell yeah, man. Get your A swing going, man. Barrel some stuff up. Hopefully, get some backspin and get out of the yard. But if I'm facing a dominant dude and I'm in 0-2, 1-2 counts, and I'm trying to drive the ball in the 10th row, I'm going to get out. For me personally, I'm going to be out. I can't hit like that. So yeah, I do think though that I think the shift started kind of coming in when I was at the end. I think they're probably on their way out now. I've talked a lot of, I've seen both things. Like for me personally, like if I see a shift, I'm going to try and I'm going to beat the shift. That's it.
Right. But you're a guy that could beat the shift though. Yeah.
If I was especially guys in scoring position, I'm knocking those runs in, and I'll do it whatever way I have to. But I've talked to a lot of really good hitters, and they said, man, it's just not, the stuff is so good. It seems easy on TV to be able to kind of just slap a ball to left field. He goes, man, I've tried it. It's just not that easy. That's how good the stuff is. So they feel like their best way to have success is to really let their swings go and try and drive the ball to the ballpark. So that's really interesting. Like I never would have thought about that. As I would say, hey, I'm gonna do whatever. I'll hit the thing off my watch. I'll put a grenade out there, and I have no pride, man. I don't have to barrel the snot out of this thing. I just want to get those runs in.
Find a way.
Yeah, just try and find a way. And I think that the guys are saying sometimes it's easier said than done to do that. So, one thing I'll never try, and I'll try and always remind myself, is that this game is really, really difficult. And hitting's not easy, man. It's hard. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's funny once you get done. I told myself too that when I went to MLB Network, I said, listen, don't ever forget how fast it is. Don't ever forget how hard it is. Don't ever forget how much of a grind mentally it is. The game is so fast. I always say, I admire a guy like you playing the other side of the infield, short and third. You go to make a backhanded play in the big leagues. Your footwork has to be impeccable, and you got to get it. It's got to be on its way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the timing of a shortstop that goes into the hold and he makes a play. I tell my kids all the time, I was like, well, you're not appreciating that. Yeah. You're not appreciating that play. That guy,
perfect. It was perfect.
The clock's got to be perfect, right?
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. So, I look back at that, I'm like, wow, man, those guys, just are really good. Last question that I want to throw out there is about your manager. You played 14 years in the big leagues. Who were some of the favorite guys you played with and why?
I got lucky there, Case. I mean, the longest guy I had was Ron Washington, who was the man.
Why was he the man? Why was Wash the man? Because a lot of guys say that.
I could be here all day. So, first of all, you get to the ballpark and you walk past Wash's office. And this is back in the days. I mean, you played for Jim Leland too. Same thing. Smoke coming out of his office.
Yeah, so
and
great.
You walk in and you kind of like wade your way through it, and you're like, "What's up?"
Wash, you there?
Oh yeah. And all you can hear is he's like, "What's?" And he always gave like these random nicknames for guys, right?
Yeah.
He called me Migo. I believe you spelled that M-I-G-O. That's what he called me. What's up, Migo? I'm like, I'll take it, bro. And so through the smoke and through the booming of Snoop, he'd call me Migo, right? That's what you get in Wash's office. So, but dude, like one thing I will say, man, this is it didn't take me long to really love him. You go to spring training, and Wash is like an active manager. He's hitting fungos, he's throwing BP. He is active. He's not just kind of chilling. He's working. Sweat coming down his face. You take ground balls with this dude, and you never feel the same about infield defense again. He hits you the first ground ball, right? And if you say you've been around the game for a little bit, you take your first ground ball, it's like, boom. He's like, yeah. And you're like, damn, that's just one. Two Case. He does that every time. Yes. That's perfect. Next one, boom. Say you fumble it. We're good. Remember what you did? And it's this non-stop enthusiasm, dude. And it doesn't take long before you have the same attitude. And it's just game on, right?
Wow.
And it's unbelievable. It's infectious, dude. You start feeling it. And he's that way when he throws BP to you. He throws great BP, right away. Money.
Does he money BP?
Oh, money BP. Yeah. Nice little angle. Just hanging eaters right there. Yeah. So, and every time you barrel the ball up, he's like, yeah. Like, it's just how he is, man.
That's awesome.
You got to be around it, man. It's something else. Then, I when I got to Philly, I played for Charlie Manuel, who was, dude, Chuck was the man. Chuck, by the way, one thing I love about Chuck, the most unapologetic pitcher hater of all time. He didn't like any pitcher. He didn't like his own. I remember we were in Philly. I remember he gave me a day off, and I fought him on it. I'll try and keep this brief. I fought him on a day off. We're facing Steven Strasburg. I was laying an egg. I'm like, no, you can't give me a day off, Chuck. He's like, okay, I'll get back in there. He talks, get back in there, Mike.
Yeah, you get in there.
Yeah, I get back in there, and Strasburg just shuts. I go for 4 with 3 punchies. And after the game, Chuck looks at me and he goes, I'm like, Chuck, I'll never argue again, dude. You want to bench me? So fast forward like 2 weeks later, we're facing the Marlins, and Jose Fernandez, rest in peace, is on the mound.
Right.
Gives me a day off. I'm like, okay, I'll take this one. So we're halfway through the game, and Stanton's hitting. When Stanton was a little younger, but still hitting balls on the moon. And he's like, Mike, come over here. And Chuck wants to talk. I walk over there. He's like, I just want you to know, right now I would trade you and Cole and Doc and Jimmy and Chase for Stanton right now. And all of a sudden, like during that bet, he's like, oh, Stanton. Like, who's Stanton? And he said it like 4 times during his at bat. And I'm pretty sure Stanton heard him, and he's like, who is saying that?
Come on, Stanton.
Oh, Stanton. And like all the pitchers, like they're like, Cole's looking at him like, really? Like, we're sitting right here.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Did it all the time. He did it all the time.
He loves great hitter. He loves great power hitters, man. He loves hitters.
Oh, yeah. Loves hitters and loves guys who can throw some steam into it, dude. He loves it.
Dude, I got a quick Charlie Manuel story. When I came up with the Indians in 98 was my first big league camp, and we had some ballers, man. Me, Richie Sexton, Russell Brandon. We had some bangers that were in the minor leagues, and Chuck treated us like gold. It was like so kind of him. But he'd come down spring training game. Who wants to hit? Who wants to hit? We're going down the cages right now, and bam, he'd take all of our bench guys. We go down the cages on the curveball machine, whatever. But he, and I was like, man, this guy's unbelievable. But as the more I was around him, the more I realized, boy, he loves Tommy. He loves Manny Ramirez. He laid the bangers. Like, oh, yeah, boy, get the head out, boys. You got to get the head out. 3-1. I want to see balls either in the seats or in the seats over here, poolside.
Oh, yeah. You're catching it out in front, dude. Right.
Out front. You better get it out front.
With the slider and you throw your bat in the stands, I won't care, but you better catch it out front.
So great, dude. That is so great. But promise this is the last one before we do our 9 and 90. The 2011 World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what to say because it was such a heartbreaker for you guys. What do you remember about it? And do you still think about, like, man, if it went this way or that way?
Yeah, you know what, dude? Like, I thought about it a lot for a while. I don't think about it as much anymore. But I do remember, like, during the series, like, I'm talking like during Game 4, Game 5, we would be on base, or I'd say when I go to the dish and Yachty be back there, we all knew we were in the middle of something special. We'd all be like, yeah, damn. Because I played in the World Series the year before, and the Giants beat us in 5.
That's right.
That's right. Handily. They took it to us the year before, and no one was saying that kind of stuff during the series. They put their foot on the gas out of the gate, and they won. But that series, we knew we were in for it. You could have said in Game 2, we were like, well, this is going 7.
Oh, seriously?
This is going 7. It was that intense. And we get into the 6th and Game 6, and we do what we got to do, and they execute down the road. Man, that's a beautiful thing about baseball, dude. Like, there's no clock here. You got to get all the outs. You got to score all the runs. If there was a clock, I'd have a ring right now. There's no clock. Yeah. You got to handle it from the get go. And dude, they did. As much as I'll never, if I was on that side, I would never want anybody to kind of take credit away from me. So I give them all the props on the road. We competed hard. I can't think of one thing other than some execution things here and there that we could have done different to win. There's a couple of things I wish I had done. I'm sure we can drive ourselves crazy as players thinking
exactly. Yeah, right. Should have, could have.
Like, we played well. We played really, really well, and and it's almost like in that World Series, you want those last 2 games to be in your home ballpark. They had them. They won. They deserved it. They played great. But it was. I mean, you play sports at the highest level, man. As much as you want to win, as much as you want to win a World Series, you're almost signed. You got to be willing to get your heart broken, man. That's what you risk it all to get to that point.
How stressful were those rain days? Weren't there rainouts in that series too? Right. That must have been the worst experience, the worst day of your life, just sitting there waiting for the next World Series game.
So Skip Schumacher is one of my good buddies, and we go back and forth on this all the time. He was on that freaking 11 team. So I am a little chap.
Yeah, I got
it. We finished Game 5. We're up 3-2 going back to St. Louis, right? And they rain out Game 6. Not one drop falls, and they rained us out. Because we had faced Chris Carpenter in Game 5 at home, we beat him.
It's Tony La Russa doing something, I'm telling you.
Pulling the strings.
Pulling the strings.
So now, if we happen to lose Game 6, they can bring Carpenter back on a short rest in Game 7. Otherwise, Carpenter wouldn't have been able to pitch. He was done.
Right.
Sure enough, they have a rain delay. Not one freaking drop falls. Now, granted, we should never got to that point because if we win in Game 6, then we win.
Right.
But sure enough, so anyway, you mentioned the rain delays. And that rain delay had Carpenter back out there for Game 7. And I think he went, 6 good ones or something like that and threw great. And that's what Carp did, right? He's a tough dude and really, really good pitcher. So they caught a break on that one with the rain out to get Carp back out there.
Yeah. What a World Series, though, bro. Like, even as a fan to look back, you look at 2011, like, I think it's one of the greatest World Series ever. Just the back and forth, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
All right, the last thing we do this thing called 9 and 90. Chinch has 9 questions. I'll answer first, and then you answer second, and they're just fun, dumb questions. Chinch, take it away, Chinch.
All right, here we go.
Hall of Fame baseball broadcaster Marty Brenneman here. It's time for 9 and 90, the most ridiculous segment in all of sports.
Oh, first one's easy. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, your favorite?
You know what? I'm a dinner. Dinner's my favorite.
Dinner. dinner. Even though I'm not gonna lie, I can go for a big boy breakfast right now too with the pancakes and all the stuff with it. But I'm a dinner guy.
I'm with you on that. All right, ping pong or billiards, Sean? I know your answer.
Ping pong, 100%.
Ping pong.
But I like billiards, but ping pong.
I do too. I have a pool table in there, and there's a ping pong table over it. So right now, it's all you got.
How often have you used that billiards table?
I didn't until I put them. Now me and my kids play ping pong all the time. All the time. The billiards table's all dusty.
Yeah.
Bad, dude.
Yeah, hey kid, let's get a $10,000 billiards table and put a ping pong table over, and then we'll start using it.
Exactly that.
Oh, this is good. Speaking of kids, if your kid asked you for a pet snake, would you say yes or no?
No chance. I don't want to be sleeping and like having that thing crawl in my bed one night. I just don't need that hassle.
Oh hell yeah, I do. Dude, I'll give you one quick story. Sorry, dude. Like my freshman year, I roll into the dorm, and it's not a baseball player. I got a rando, and all of a sudden he comes in there and he's got a snake. I was like, yeah. He's like, you don't like snakes? I'm like, no. Like, why? No one likes snakes. What stupid question is that? He's like, I guarantee you, in a week you'll love this snake. So I was like, okay. So sure enough, he goes. One night, like 10 guys come in the dorm, and he's got a hat with like crumbled up papers. He goes, pick a number. He goes, actually, give me $20. I just met this dude. I'm like, all right, give me $20. Pick a number. And I pull the thing apart, and it says 10 seconds to 20 seconds. Okay. So I was like, yeah, exactly. You think he knows? I was like, I don't know what this is. He goes, just hold on to it. So all of a sudden, everybody's like, everybody got their times? And I'm like, yeah, we just met each other. Pulls out a mouse, drops it in. Now you're trying to hit on whoever gets the time, right? So sure enough, I'm sitting there like this. The 10-second thing hits, and I go, hey. I'm like, get him! Move, you're just sitting in the corner. Get your ass on me. I mean, it only lasts like for a little because the babies are kind of like helpless. When an adult, you drop in there, it's like boom, it was dead. But so for like we did it at least 10 times. Oh, it was like the highlight of my week. I love it. So yeah, I'm all in for this.
That's so great. See, I never had that experience. Had I had that experience, maybe I would have said yes.
Story. All right, this is an interesting one. Let's just say you became a pro football player instead of a pro baseball player. Which position would you have been best at?
Oh God, I was so slow. And let me think. How about like a guard? No, probably a tackle. I just have to beef up a lot, but probably like an offensive tackle.
I could see that. Fullback.
Long snapper, probably.
Yeah, maybe I'll have Mikey snap it to me. I'll be the punter.
Oh, yeah. There you go. That's good. Yeah. I had a kid try out for long snapper on my high school team once. I thought it was brilliant because he wasn't going to make the team. He didn't make the team anyway. Grossest food you've ever tried, Sean?
Oh man, grossest food that pops into my head right now.
Didn't you have some Chinese thing when you were with the Red Sox? What was that?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. No, it was we were in Japan, and I thought I was eating a piece of steak, and the waiter comes up to me, he's like, "Oh man, how do you like the cow tongue?" I'm like, "What? Cow tongue?" But so I want to say it was the worst thing I ever had, but it really was pretty good, to tell you the truth. But I just didn't know. They bamboozled me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They caught you off guard.
Caught me off guard.
I would go with, I've tried caviar before. I'm not a fan. I guess you're supposed to like it because it's a little steep, but I was out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know what
Dude, I agree.
Yeah, okay.
I agree. Give me a hot dog.
Dude, for sure. Yes. Big bread for this stuff? I'm out.
What's more annoying / amateur hours? New Year's Eve or Valentine's Day?
Well, nowadays I go to bed so early. New Year's Eve, I'm like, I ain't staying up. What are you, nuts? I stayed up. But I think Valentine's Day is a little tired too, because you can't get a reservation. You end up cooking at home right nowadays. So at least I do. Maybe I got to get better at that.
Oh, dude, definitely Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is for the birds. I'm the luckiest guy in the world because my wife hates me.
Oh, perfect.
She's like, don't plan a thing. And I also told her one time, I was like, I kind of felt bad because when we had young kids, we'd like try maybe go to dinner for Valentine's Day. But I'm like, I always felt bad because you're trying to find a sitter and you're basically assuming she can't swing a date.
That's a good point.
I'm like, this is kind of cold-blooded, man. How about
Yeah, that's a great point.
Oh my God, so good.
Two more
Sue,
quick ones.
Sue, I know you're 16, but could you come over for Valentine's Day? Because I know you don't have a date either.
You don't have a date, yeah. I know you have nothing to do. Get over here.
Yeah. All right, Case, crunchy peanut butter or smooth?
Oh, crunchy, 100%.
I'm smooth by default just 'cause that's what my kids eat. But for me, I'm definitely going the crunchy route, but the kids do the creamy stuff. So that's what we got in our house.
So yeah, you eat like they eat half their sandwich, you eat the other half. You're like, oh, I'll eat it.
Sure.
All right, this one is for both of you. It's interesting to me. Two of the best hitters I've ever talked to in my life. Roll out of bed tomorrow. You go to the ballpark. You're going to play in 10 straight games, batting second. What is your batting average at the end of those 10 games?
Wait, am I my
Right
age?
now, yes, you. Right now, tomorrow, start playing for the Reds.
10 games. You know what? I'll probably throw out a 220, probably at least 2. I could probably hit the league average right now. What are they hitting? 220?
No, they'd bench you. They'd bench you because you're a lawn shankler right now, Case.
No shit.
I would say I don't even think I wouldn't sniff two both. I don't think.
What?
I don't think I'd sniff it. I think I'd get just crushed out there right now. I don't do. Here's the thing. Case, you ever hit anymore? I never hit anymore.
Bro, I hit the other day with my kids in like the cages. I'm like, let me show you how you work your hands. I was like, oh shit. My shoulder went back, my neck. I'm like, you know, just do whatever you're doing. So it's not, bro, we don't realize how good a shape we were in. I was taking, you know, at least a few hundred swings a day. And then the days I was struggling, I was probably taking 1,000. You know what I mean? Like, so like, now I go take like 10 swings off the tee. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like I played a charity baseball game, and I still like work out, but like it's different, right? It's not game shape. And I came home after that thing, the 9-inning game. I didn't even play hard. I was laid up in bed. That my shoes up. I'm like, I feel like I hit by a bus, dude. This sucks. I throw a lot because I throw to my kids a lot, but oh my God, I wouldn't sniff 200 right now. I'd get
nice. All right, that's 990. We did it.
Oh my God, that's so great. Hey, Mikey, thank you so much, dude, for figuring this out, brother. I know you're busy and have a lot of action going on, but thanks for joining us, man. Chinch and I have been looking forward to this for a while, and hope you had a good time, man.
I had a blast, man. I appreciate you guys being patient with me and having me on, man. I had a good time.
It's great, man. Good luck, brother. Good luck with the kids.
Appreciate it, brother. You too, man. You guys be good.
Okay. All right, thanks, Mikey.
See you guys.
Bro. You know what? Breaking stuff down with a guy like Michael Young, career 300 hitter, dude, his numbers are unbelievable. You know, I really did think he was going to Cooperstown because he was going to get 3,000 hits, and he got close. 2,375 hits is unbelievable. Go look at the numbers, dude. He's tops of all time.
Absolutely.
And he could flat out rake 7 All-Star games, MVP. Probably should have won a World Series. So.
Yeah, let's not forget though, those 7 All-Star games, he was a middle infielder when it was Nomar, Arod, Jeter, him.
Right.
Like he played one of the most premier positions, maybe in a time when it was the greatest it's ever been, and he was an All-Star 7 times. I mean, and a gold glove.
Yeah, won a Gold Glove. Yeah, the guy was stud, dude. The guy, like I said, as a player, when you're watching other players, you're like, that guy's a Hall of Famer. Like, and so for me, when I still look at Mike, if it wasn't so stingent to get into the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, I think Michael Young is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I always just also loved watching him play. Like there was no give. Everything was just balls to the wall, and he just smoked the baseball. Yeah. I love that.
Legit,
great play.
dude.
Hell of a play.
And I also think if he had a couple more years, maybe a couple more numbers, who knows?
Yeah, 300 on a dot. That must have been terrifying.
On a dot.
Terrifying.
It was. What I told you, it is terrifying. Because like I said, when I was 301 with the Sox, I'm like, oh man, don't let me be 299. Please, Lord. Please, Lord.
Anyway,
sweet Jesus.
But it was awesome having him. Great stuff.
Awesome, man. Awesome, Chinch. Great show, brother. And we will do it again soon. All the people out there, keep downloading us, subscribing to us if you can on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And we thank you so much for listening. I hope you're enjoying the ride as much as we are. See you next week, brother. Love you.
Love you, bud.